What popular saying is actually bullshit?
Looks don't matter. They do. Not always, not completely, but they very much do matter. Humans are kind of superficial in that regard. People would tell me that potential employers decide if a person is the right fit for the job within the first 5 seconds of the interview. For years I thought it was BS until I was on the other side of the table. A candidate who walks into the room wearing a suit and carries themselves in a confident demeanor is going to make me much more comfortable than someone with a perpetual slouch wearing a polo and jeans, even if the latter is 10x more qualified. I wish we as humans had more control over that, but it's just instinctual. Edit. For the people calling me shallow and classist, I think I need to be more clear. Someone who doesn't look or act as nice may be more qualified, but if anything in their responses gives any kind of indication that they're going to have a negative impact on the work environment, that's a deal breaker. Someone could be as smart as a whip but could be lazy or struggle to listen to authority. On the flip side though, someone could be a perfect fit but doesn't sell themselves well. We don't know this person, so we have to make assumptions based on their responses to our questions and what skills they claim to possess. Skills are important, yes, but presentation is what gets your foot in the door. The same goes for the better dressed person. They could say something completely off the wall that can turn the tide. What goes around, comes around. I've seen so many good, honest people get screwed over by toxic, immoral people who never get their comeuppance. The concept of karma is bullshit. Edit. Maybe karma was a bad word to use, as it has many definitions. The version I use here is the one commonly used within the secular communities of the Western world, i.e. within one lifetime. Never judge a book by its cover. As someone who works in a bookshop, you're damn right I'm gonna judge the quality of a book by its production. As do most customers. I have gotten insights into the world of publishing and the decisions they make based on the quality and success of the product they are pushing. For instance, an author just starting out. The catchy title of the book is going to be the biggest text on the book. The author has brought out 3 to 4 books that are proving successful. The text size of their name is going to be equal to the title. Ian Rankin or Kate Atkinson. Their name is going to be the biggest text on that cover because that's what draws customers in. I remember chatting to James Oswald, who said, First had made it when my name got bigger. Our Scottish buyer is very good at sniffing out underdog books. Books that are incredibly well written, but haven't got the recognition they deserve, and she will discuss with the publisher about changing the cover of the book to reflect this. Suddenly huge boosts in sales. When a customer is looking for an obscure title, and I look it up, I can almost immediately tell if it's a low-quality independent publication by the way the cover looks. Disclaimer. Much like with the underdogs, there are always exceptions to rules. And it is definitely not always the case that a low-quality looking book is necessarily a bad read. It's just often an indication of a first-time or unpublished author, who hasn't had a chance to hone their craft yet. An apple a day keeps the doctor away. I've tried to ward my house to the best of my abilities. Apples near each door and window, apple-scented candles, maintaining a constant supply of apples and apple products in my kitchen. Nothing works. The doctors, they are relentless. They're clever, systematically searching for a breach in my defenses. When I close my eyes, I can feel their icy stethoscopes. I just ate my first apple today, but it is all in vain. The ache in my knees from their mallets warns me they are drawing near. I took an apple from my kitchen to carry with me around the house. I sat down on my couch, only to hear the crinkle of wax paper beneath me. I caught a glimpse of a white coat outside my window. I wanted to believe it wasn't real, but my worst fears were realized when I heard the murmur of, what seems to be the problem here, today? They're here. Sleep is for the weak, or, I'll sleep when I die. Well actually, not sleeping is making you weaker and decreasing your lifespan as you gloat about it right now. Sleep is essential, people. Edit. Wow, I went to sleep and this got crazy. Thank you kind strangers for the awards. Laughing face. Except those two phrases don't really mean the same thing, at least not all the time. Sleep is for the weak is a fallacious judgment of character. I'll sleep when I die is more about a sense of urgency. I know when I use it it's because I am too excited about something to sleep. And, in general, I don't like to sleep and don't sleep a lot. I guess it's an underlying sense that I will miss something? I've been like this since childhood and I am about to be 46. And then people comment on it, so I tell them that so they'll leave me alone. But, yes, sleep is actually healthy, and I know that my dislike of sleep isn't good for me. I also know that there are studies of people who appear to exist on much less sleep than others and are fine, or seem to be. It's better to ask forgiveness than permission. Yeah, eventually people are just gonna stop forgiving you. I always knew it as, it's easier to seek forgiveness than permission. That holds true and is very useful to progress at things, and often with positive results from the party you are seeking forgiveness, permission from. People naturally bias towards following the norm. Rules and guidance are safe, but sometimes illogical or inefficient. Asking someone to change how they behave or whether they follow a rule will rarely be met with, "Oh yeah, I suppose this is a stupid bureaucratic process," and by seeking permission, they become complicit if things go wrong, so they're less likely to permit you, and if they do, you've screwed them over somewhat. The permission route involves an accountability shift that the forgiveness route doesn't. A company I used to work for had a no booze before 5 p.m. rule on Fridays. The company tended to socialize after hours and would stock the fridges with beer. One time, my team had completed a bit of a marathon unit of work, and some of the team were unavailable in the evening to celebrate. Seeking permission for my team to start drinking champagne in a meeting room at 2 p.m. would require a bunch of special sign-off shit, and also give the impression that our rules were relaxing. Cheekily popping the champagne in a room, getting caught, and then seeking forgiveness, because we just felt we needed to celebrate after all the hard work and going the extra mile we've done, was a no-brainer. We weren't going to be told off and punished after we'd clearly gone above and beyond, but we'd likely not have been given permission to do so. Even if we had, it'd have been a bunch of red tape. The HR guys got plausible deniability because we'd not engaged with them. Oh really, Team X did that. We'll have words with them. We weren't aware. Do what makes you happy, in regards to searching for a career. Edit. Getting several questions as to why I think it's bullshit, so I'm going to copy and paste one of my responses to that question. Because I have come to find that people tend to not be passionate about their jobs. Sure, there are some who enjoy it, but it isn't something they're passionate about. I personally believe that any hobby you turn into a necessity kills your love for said hobby. Of course, it's not true for everyone, but it's true for me and apparently a lot of people who have commented about their experiences. In the end, you'll either land a job you are passionate about, in which you'll be the lucky few, or you'll land a job you won't be passionate about and feel like you failed because you aren't passionate about your job. I would prefer the saying, do what you find tolerable and use the money to pursue what you actually love. Also, some passions cannot be turned into careers and some people just don't have passions. My passion for running isn't something I can make a reliable income with. That's something else I recognized, as I remember lots of people in my HS did not know what to pursue after HS because they did not have any passions in any fields or in general. Be yourself. If you're a fucking asshole and even the nice people hate you, then you should fucking change and not be yourself. Story time. Sometime in middle school we held a dance recital for PE class. It was ballroom and we all had to partner up, boy with girl. There were small prizes for a casual competition, like who seemed to put in the most effort into practicing. After one of the boys found out he and his partner didn't make the top 3, he ran to the bathroom crying. I rushed in and spent 3 minutes consoling him, telling him not to change and the result is okay because he tried and that's what matters. As soon as I leave, the PE teacher comes in and berates him for crying, saying how things don't always go your way and if you cry about everything, you won't solve your problems. Grow up, deal with it, you don't always win, type thing. He stopped crying, but I think it was mostly due to the shock from the complete change in tone from me to the PE teacher. Mind you, he wasn't the best dancer and definitely didn't try as hard as the top 3, but somehow I found it hilarious that the PE teacher came in immediately after I left and said the total opposite of what I had said. I don't want to paint my PE teacher in a total bad light, because he rewarded effort regardless of results. The kid ended up getting good grades because he tried. He was more about life lessons than the actual activity and teaching us about how to be young men, at least by his definition. If you can't handle me at my worst, you don't deserve me at my best. This is like toxic relationship starter pack stuff. If it was used in a different context, it'd be fine. Like, if people meant it to mean, oh, if you can't handle me when I'm stressed out because I'm broke, the cancer came back, the dog died, and the toilet's so badly blocked we need a plumber for the third time this month, you probably don't deserve me when things are going well, it'd be fine. Instead, people seem to just say it to mean, I'm an asshole for no reason because I never got over my 14-year-old edgelord phase. The customer is always right. Because half of it's missing. The full truism is, the customer is always right in matters of taste. Guy wants a pint of half Baileys, half orange juice. He's paying. Lady wants to wear a raw turkey as a hat. You do you love. What it doesn't mean is that Kyle and Karen get free rein to treat people like shit because they happen to be handing over money at some stage of the interaction. Back about 20 years ago I had a part-time job at Home Depot, and I saw so much of this shit with people returning stuff or wanting ridiculous amounts off of merch for some reason or another, and mostly they'd get it too. But there's always that one time, and one Sunday night, after we'd closed up, there was this man knocking frantically on the front door glass waving a receipt. I walked over and spoke to him and he was very upset because the floor and wall associate had set him for a carpet measure estimate for the next day and the time listed was between 1 to 2 p.m. I could tell immediately there wasn't anything I'd be able to help him with, so I tracked down the overnight manager and they spoke at the door. Guy wanted to know would the estimator be there at 1 or 2 because he's not waiting around for an hour. Went on like that for a few minutes, as manager listened, then asked him to slip the receipt through the crack between the door, went over to the return register and got him his $20 deposit back, slipped it all back through the crack and told him he was sorry, we wouldn't be able to do business with him. The guy's mouth was actually hanging open. I told the manager that what he did was beautiful, and his response was, a guy like that will just be a pain in the ass for the entire job, it's not worth it. Life is like a box of chocolate. You never know what you're gonna get. Every box of chocolate I have seen has a little book that tells you what you'll get. As it was Forrest Gump who said it, and him being a little slower, mentally, than average, we get to see it from his perspective. Maybe he didn't know the chocolate box actually had a table of contents, or maybe his mother told him that quote once when he was a kid and it just stuck with him. Like, he haven't even thought of actually reading on the box, as he already knows, the boxes and sides are different every time because my mom said so, no need to fact check it. It's what he believes. That's what makes it such a wonderful quote. We get to see what the world looks like through his eyes' smiley face. Life is like a box of chocolates. A cheap, thoughtless, perfunctory gift that nobody ever asks for. Unreturnable because all you get back is another box of chocolates. So you're stuck with this undefinable whipped mint crap that you mindlessly wolf down when there's nothing else left to eat. Sure, once in a while there's a peanut butter cup or an English toffee. But they're gone too fast and the taste is fleeting. So, you end up with nothing but broken bits filled with hardened jelly and teeth-shattering nuts. And if you're desperate enough to eat those, all you got left is an empty box filled with useless brown paper wrappers. Cancer Man. It's always darkest before the dawn. No, it's darkest in the middle of the night. It gets gradually lighter before the dawn. And if you're talking metaphorically, it still doesn't work. Hard times often improve gradually. Stupid bloody saying. I'd like to petition for, it's always quietest before the dawn. There's some real absolute silence at 3 to 4 a.m., when even the creatures of the night are starting to rest. It's not technically the darkest, but it feels darker. I'd argue further that it's really good metaphorically because you feel the loneliest before things get better. People stop trying to reach out, you stop getting sympathy. A lot of times you have to dig yourself out of your own hole, and even though technically you may have been in a better situation than you were a day per week, per month, per year ago, you mentally feel worse. Mother and father know best. Lol, sure. Yeah, I get that feeling. I often do my best to compare it to other things the average person may already understand, but really that just means I know several subjects very well and are able to create relationships that may help them. Additionally, when approaching a very complex subject, I often know I will need to break it down into the underlying knowledge it requires to begin to understand the complex subject. If the person's still struggling, I break into down further and further. This is, of course, a communication skill. However, no matter how simplistic you get, the person may not be able to comprehend it. I think the saying is beneficial in the sense that if you understand a complex subject, you should be able to understand all the underlying aspects that go into that subject and be able to break them down further and further into to the most basic levels and how they all are relate. Being able to explain them simply is the BS, because that is related more to communication skills. Live each day likes it your last. That would imply, fight to be the first in line, you don't need patient, take what you can, no planning ahead, about you. Depends on your perspective. If it's my last day, my instinct wouldn't be to fight to be first in line. I would probably not waste time in line to begin with, or it would need to be a very important line for me to spend my time in. Instead of taking what I can, it would make more sense to me to enjoy what I have, since time wouldn't be wasted acquiring. I would plan, but not as far ahead as I normally would, and not for as long, so that I could live what it is I am planning for, live in the moment, which is another cliché phrase. My point is, living like it's your last day doesn't have to imply living like a selfish ass, unless for some reason you think you need to act like a selfish ass to get what you want out of life. Looks don't matter. 98% of cases it does. If it didn't, there would be no love at first sight. You can also see difference in followers of social media. While obviously looks do matter to an extent, they aren't everything. I was just thinking about a nice guy in high school that thought I wouldn't date him because he was fat and had a neckbeard. Really, he was a douche, hit on so many girls all the time that it made him seem like a pig just trying to get laid. But ironically, I'm with a guy now that is similar physically to that guy. I'm happier now than ever before because my partner is kind and respectful. My exes were the 6'1", 160 pounds type. He's graying early and is the shortest and heaviest person I have ever dated, and unfortunate to say he's got a bit of a neckbeard. I've seen plenty of guys more attractive, but none as kind and accepting and supportive as him. We do so much as a team, and the outside matters so little. I love his gray hair, and it's nice to have someone bigger than me to make me feel smaller in his arms. I find what I like changes with who I like. If a personality draws me, I tend to think of them as more attractive. What goes around comes around. In books and movies, the villains always get what they deserve in the end. And while we occasionally see that happen in real life, the truth is that money and power and the right connections allow far too many Sheathiels to live their entire lives as terrible people with absolutely no consequences. It's not personal, it's business. Fuck that. We are all people, on some level, everything is personal. We have lives and loved ones that depend on our business. This line is just used by sharks to justify cutthroat business practices. You can't love someone else if you don't love yourself. People gain self-love through the love and care shown towards the people they love. Such a surface-level thought. I'm not so sure about this one. Sometimes that can lead to an unhealthy, codependent relationship. I do think self-love begins externally by building self-esteem and confidence, but without self-love, it is easy to crave the validation and attention from someone and mistake it for love. I know that I've been in relationships and I've just wanted to give that person everything, but I was relying on them to receive affection back. My affection wasn't freely given. I've gone through a lot more challenges since then that have made me admire the person I am now. The love I give now is selfless. I think there's more factors in play when it comes to family, but for relationships made outside the home, I think the saying holds true. A ship at port is safe from storms, but that's not what ships were built for. No, you dense Humpty Dumpty of a fucking idiot human. It's what ports were built for. So that the expensive ships would have shelter from storms. Taking your ship out in a storm isn't courageous, it's just fucking stupid. Do you think ships were built to sink, losing cargo and crew? Is that what ships were built for, in your rock-hard fucking skull? You work for an insurance company, Tanya. Why are you advocating irresponsible maritime behavior? Surely you know better. Fuck that stupid fucking motivational saying, bullshit. Teamwork makes the dream work. It's a newish, cultish thing to say, and it's always said by management. Yes, a bunch of Amish building a barn proves it to sometimes be factual. But have you ever had to do a group project in school? Wait on work colleague to get you the stats they promised you weeks ago? In the end, the whole saying makes me cringe. One bad apple, meaning you can discount the bad apple because it's not representative of the entire group, is the opposite of the original saying, which was, a rotten apple quickly infects its neighbor, or, as one bad apple spoils the others, so you must show no quarter to sin or sinners, which means you have to be careful about a bit of wrongdoing in an organization or it could have this overall corrupting effect on an entire system. This is based on science, as apples and other fruits emit a ripening agent. It's a poor workman who blames his tools. As someone who has worked with tools, sometimes not having the right tools for the job totally impacts the outcome. I used to work in a shop. I know what level of perfection I can reach when I have the right tools and the right setup, so yeah, many times it's the tools and I will never hesitate to blame them if I know they're the issue. Blood is thicker than water. The way we use this phrase is bullshit. Every time you hear this, it's in the context of, your family is the most important. Protect and love them more than friends. But the actual full quote is, the blood of the covenant is thicker than the water of the womb. Which essentially means the exact opposite. The actual full quote gained popularity as a wartime saying, meaning shedding blood on the battlefield made you closer than just being related. Might be late, but, if you're going to do a job, do it properly and see it through, is wrong almost always. It's better to start most jobs or do a shitty job you can improve on. Gotta wash the car, but CBA. Just do the wheels is better than not starting. Starting an essay or rushing it is better than failing. You can always go back to it. Doing a short walk or short run is better than sitting on your ass. Making the bed instead of tidying the whole room? Fine. Hoover one room instead of all. Great. Do a few emails instead of slacking off. Murdering one kufar instead of a whole Walmart. Progress. Life's not fair. Not because it isn't true, but because whoever says that to you is right in the middle of fucking you over somehow. And numbers never lie. The hell you say. Numbers never don't lie. We get a constant stream of bullshit, incomplete, weighted, agendized, cherry-picked numbers all day long. Data doesn't lie, but numbers are full of shit. Remember what Mark Twain taught us about the types of lies in the world. There are 3 kinds of lies. Lies, damned lies, and statistics. I absolutely can't stand, have your cake and eat it too, because, have, is a verb that people use when they're talking about eating food. Like, I'm going to have a bite to eat. So 26 years ago when I first heard this saying as a little boy, I was very confused as I understood it as, you can't eat your cake and eat it too. Because I didn't know that many words, and I only knew, have, as a synonym for eat. As I got older I came to understand that the have was meant to instead mean to own, or possess the cake. But if you're going to say, have, as an alternative to eat, it just makes more sense to use the word, save, so therefore it should be, you can't save your cake, and eat it too. But wait, that's also kinda dumb because cake is a highly perishable commodity, it's not really something that people save. So then the actual saying, in my humblest of opinions, should be, you can't spend your money and save it too. Which admittedly would still be a shit saying, but at least it would make some form of sense. In Germany there is a saying, die Ausnahme bestätigt die Regel, the exception confirms the rule, which is obviously totally flawed. People use it, whenever they say X applies, but Y is the actual outcome. I think it originated in a form of irony and fun way to say that they were wrong, but nowadays people legit use it to say they're right and the result was just a rare case. It's been around so long, that people don't question it anymore. Everything happens for a reason, makes my fucking blood boil. Still waiting to figure out why little Timmy had to go through chemo at age 2. Or why Sally had to be raped when she was 11. Or why John, a 27-year-old father of 2 with a third on the way, had to be run over by a drunk driver and die after spending 3 months in a coma. Fuck your magical thinking and perverted karmic justice. Bad stuff happens to good people all the time, and I'd be willing to bet that most of the time if given the choice they'd rather not have had those things happen to them in the first place. Work hard and you'll succeed is pretty huge on the bullshit list. If this were true, then Africans and indigenous Americans would all be millionaires. Instead, the majority of their populace is trapped by poverty. Not to mention the continued theft of land and resources by the powers that be, which to this day continue their policies of blatant racism and genocide. Usually the types of people peddling this bullshit are entitled rich kids who have never done meaningful work in their entire life and delusional capitalist sympathizers trying to make excuses for the shitty, exploitational behaviors of the capitalist class. I'm expecting this comment to either get buried or go up in flames, so have at me.
Thank you for watching. Don't forget to like the video. And if you are new, subscribe and click on the bell icon.